Hey, Memphis Teacher Residency. My name is John Bryson. I have the privilege of being the lead pastor at Fellowship Memphis and very excited to hopefully get to encourage you today. I am a massive fan of MTR. I remember when MTR was just an idea and began praying along with David and others. And then watching it develop over these years has been incredible. You are literally an answer, part of an answer to our prayers for this city that are almost 2 decades old now. I know David's been involved in praying for our city even longer than I have. And so thank you for doing what you're doing. I can't think of any other profession or few other professions as important as what you're doing, living out the gospel in the classroom every day and fighting to educate the most vulnerable among us. Thank you for what you're doing. Just a word of encouragement. We were studying recently at our church one of the biographies of Jesus. At the beginning of your New Testament, Jesus has 4 guys who spent 3 years with him, and then at the end of that, they each wrote about Jesus. And Matthew's the first one, then Mark, then Luke, then John. And incidentally, I'm on my 34th day at home with 1 wife, 6 kids, 3 dogs, and 2 cats. So you may hear from any or all of them over the next few minutes. We'll just roll through it. In stories, particularly in Mark chapter 4, toward the end of the chapter, Jesus asked his disciples to go to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, which would have been a very actually dangerous request. The Sea of Galilee then and now is known for violent storms that come out of nowhere. And then at night as well, that would have been a strange request that most people did not get on that body of water at night because of the danger of those storms. And so Jesus intentionally asked them to take him to the other side. And the language there, looking at it, it says they took him just as he was. And that's interesting because most of the background of most of the disciples were they were fishermen. Most of the miracles were about water or done on water because that was an area of strength, an area where the disciples were very tempted to be super self-reliant, feel like I got this, you're on my turf now, and yet Jesus takes them out, and then it says storms quickly arose. The original language there is like a hurricane-esque kind of storm. They're terrified. It says they found Jesus asleep in the stern. Now, Jesus is at peace with God, his Father. Even today, I can rest because God never rests. I can take some time off in a quarantine because God never takes time off. He knows exactly where we are. He knows exactly what he's doing. The disciples prayed actually a terrible prayer. They said, "Teacher, don't you care that we're perishing?" That was their prayer. And yet to that very poor prayer, Jesus responds. That's what awakens Jesus. It's the voice of his children, even if their attempts of prayer are pretty lame. I'm a pretty lame prayer myself. But thankfully, Jesus responds to those who love him and follow him and have committed their life to him. And sure enough, he stands up, spoke to the winds and the waves. 3 words, peace, be still. It says the storm quit, which could have been, a storm just happened to be ending. That could have been random. That's not really the miracle. It says the seas become perfectly calm. So you can imagine a rough sea and then a perfectly calm sea. And that startled the disciples. And then they said, "Who then is this that even the winds and the waves obey him?" And so I like to write in my Bible. I would have circled what they called him at the beginning of the story. Even when they went to him in prayer, teacher. And then I would connect that with who then is this? That the storm that God ordained for those disciples was a lesson for them, multiple lessons for them. But one of the things it did was make Jesus way bigger. That he wasn't just this great teacher, though he was a great teacher. He was God himself. He had the power that theologically we call that his sovereignty, that every molecule submits to God, that he controls it all. He is all good and he is all powerful. So just know, we may feel like we're in the midst of a storm. Jesus hears our prayers. Jesus responds to our prayers. They don't have to be beautiful, eloquent prayers. They can even be poor prayers. But if you'll turn to him, if you go to Him with all your cares, all your concerns, all your needs, I believe you will see God settle storms in and around us in ways that are startling, that decades from now we'll be telling stories to our kids and grandkids about the faithfulness of God in the midst of a crazy time in 2020. God bless you. Keep up your great work. We love you. We're praying for you. Thank you for what you do for our city. Father, thanks for MTR. Let it flourish, each individual in the midst of this. Show yourself real and encouraging to them. I pray that we all can be developing a better and better storm theology. We love you, Father. Amen. Go get them.